In this problem, we're going to be adding the rational expressions together of 4 over x minus 2 and 3 over x plus 1. Whenever you're adding fractions together or subtracting them, you must have a common denominator. In this case, x minus 2 and x plus 1 are completely different denominators, so we must find a least common denominator in order to add them. So, whenever you go about these problems, you need to first factor each of your denominators to check if there are any repeated terms. In this case, neither of these denominators will factor, so we can immediately say that each of these are unique factors. So the least common denominator, or LCD, is going to be the first factor, x minus 2, times the second factor, x plus 1. So in the first problem, in order to get that least common denominator in this denominator, we have to multiply the top and bottom of this fraction, which I'll rewrite over here, by that x plus 1. So we'll multiply x plus 1 to the top and x plus 1 to the bottom. And then we'll repeat that over here. 3 over x plus 1. We'll multiply this by x minus 2 to the top and bottom. And that'll give us our LCD in both fractions. So in the top one, we're going to distribute this 4, which gives us 4x plus 4 over our LCD, x plus 1 times x minus 2, plus, now we'll distribute the 3 to get 3x minus 6 over x plus 1 times x minus 2. Just a quick note, you do not have to distribute this 4 and 3 at this step. You could leave them, I'll write them off to the side, as 4 times x plus 1, and then 3 times x minus 2, just like that. And this is the way that I suggest you do it if you are subtracting the fractions, as it is easier to keep track of that subtraction later on. Okay, but continuing on with the way we've approached this, now that we have these two fractions added together with our least common denominator, we can now take the LCD and put it under one fraction and simply add the top values together. So 4x plus 4 will be added to 3x minus 6. Just like when you're adding standard fractions together, you add the top values and keep the denominator. From here, all we have to do is combine our like terms and then check if anything will simplify. So we're left with 4x plus 3x is 7x, and then 4 plus negative 6 is negative 2, all over x plus 1 times x minus 2. This will not factor any further, which means we won't be able to cancel out any like terms, so this is fully simplified and the finished result. Moving back over here, I just want to quickly show how we would have approached this if we hadn't distributed each of those terms. So we would have been left with 4 times x plus 1 over x plus 1 times x minus 2 plus 3 times x minus 2 times x plus 1 times x minus 2. And now that we have the same common denominator again, We can add our top values together, which gives us 4 times x plus 1 plus 3 times x minus 2 all over x plus 1 times x minus 2. And at this point, we would be able to distribute the 4 and 3 and combine our like terms to get the same result we just did over here. This might seem like it takes an extra step, it's a longer process, but the nice thing about it is if this were a subtraction, then we would be able to distribute that negative to each term, which is a step that is most commonly forgotten in these problems when students are subtracting.